Well, several interesting issues about what's happening in the world. There's a report that is forecasting how this year will end. Regarding the planet, how has the planet reacted this 2025 in the face of the challenges we have on this planet? Regarding pollutants and these kinds of things, all the climate issues, how is it going? Yeah, we're already starting to wrap up the year and a lot of numbers are starting to come out. There will be many analyses of armed conflicts and the state of the planet. Carbon emissions are being generated this time. Well, that's a very interesting fact because these are carbon emissions generated specifically by fossil fuels that have reached a historic record. This year, 38.1 billion tons of carbon dioxide, 2 according to the Global Carbon Budget Report. A 1.1% increase over the previous year, which is a lot because the idea is that this should be going down, but it didn't go down, it actually went up. The co-author of the report, Glenn Peters, said that these types of emissions continue and are still increasing. They say that countries are not improving their performance, although there are positive signs in some countries, like in the United Kingdom, where emissions actually decreased. And the economy still grew, which is important because some claim lower emissions mean economic decline. Well, in the case of the United Kingdom, those types of emissions went down, but their economy actually improved, right? Which countries do you think emit the most pollutants? I think you probably already have an idea. First place is China, second place is the United States, third place is India, and fourth place is the European Union as a whole. So that's where most of the planet's pollutants come from. That's the point, isn't it? In the United States, for example, it increased by 19% also because there was a very cold winter at the beginning of this year. And so while those also increase, with pollutants, emissions increase because certain products are used more and well, there's more pollution when winters are longer, right? On the other hand, there have also been reports about how the problem of deforestation is going. When this deforestation increases, it also grows. The release of carbon from trees, and it continues to be, well, another source, they say, of emissions on this issue. So, well, it's part of the problem. The emissions that grew the most were from coal, oil, and natural gas, right? Which sometimes is made to seem like the use of those fuels is already decreasing. That's clearly not true, at least not globally. They're still being used a lot and they're still increasing. This situation is still happening. Another curious, interesting topic, by the way, is that they're already creating mini nuclear power plants. This is going to start in the United Kingdom. But it's very interesting because these are already other types of nuclear plant systems which don't generate the risks that nuclear plants from other times did, right? That also seems very interesting to me, right? I mean, we're talking about these mini power plants in Great Britain getting the green light, and now it's Roy who is going to build them. They're small modular reactors. So you realize that you say, you know what? I have a neighborhood here that's huge and needs clean energy, and it's going to be quite abundant. Well, then take a module. Today it grew, this other neighborhood joined, and another and another. Oh, well, add another module. So you keep adding modules to these reactors like little reactors, and you can keep increasing the energy, he says. This is enough energy for up to 3 million people, so you start setting up little plants, so to speak. The first mini nuclear power plant in Great Britain will be located in Wales. It will supply energy to 3 million people over the next 10 years. And other modular reactors will be built in other regions of the United Kingdom as well. For example, the Wilfa power plant on the coast of Angeles and in the north of Wales. Well, it will be the first one, right, that will be operating there. Well, it's also a pretty interesting topic. Another thing that also draws attention is the drop in Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, it's still a drop. Well, interesting, important, right? It's already a trend that's been going on for a while. I mean, this trend started around October 23rd or 24th Let's see if we can see it on the screen. It's this menu here by these diamonds. That's where the trend started, right? Do you notice how the trend has been going down? There isn't a trend change yet. So, well, as long as there's no trend change and as long as the volume remains high, the selling volume, I mean, people are selling Bitcoin, so, well, obviously it goes down. And there it is, right? I mean, it's a line we can draw here, and as long as it isn't broken, the trend doesn't change. I mean, it stays there. It reaches this line and falls, reaches this line and falls, reaches this line and falls. So it might go up to 100,000, 101,000 or so, but if it doesn't break 101,000 and shoot up to 105, 110 and so on, it doesn't change the trend. It would just fall again. Possibly, well, once it gets to 80 something thousand, right? Around 85 or 87,000 in the next drop. Who knows how long these drops will continue? Obviously, it's an issue that's been happening for a while now. It's been going on for some time. It's been a few months since October or November, and the drop has lasted about a month. More or less, I mean, it's been a little less than a month. So, well, yeah, it's an issue I imagine that's starting to worry the Bitcoin investors. By the way, gold has been holding its price, right? It doesn't seem like it's dropping anymore, does it? The last time it went up, it couldn't surpass the peak of $4,339 per ounce. Well, it didn't surpass it either, so it seems like it's apparently losing strength now. We'll see if this starts to happen. Maybe a drop is coming, or maybe a stabilization, maybe even for years. Because gold tends to be very boring. I mean, it usually has a very, very steady trend. Very stable, but very slow, right? In the sense that there's not much volatility, which is what a lot of people like, right? Isn't that true? Some people prefer Bitcoin's volatility, while others favor gold's stability, right? That's the thing, isn't it? The peso, well, is gaining strength again, isn't it? Yesterday it was, so to speak, a little weak. Today, well, it's strong again. I mean, it's the dollar that's falling, so the peso is gaining strength. It's at 18.33. The peso is at 18 pesos and 33 cents for each dollar, right? That's the situation there too. That's just how it is. Let's check the comments. How have you been? How are you doing? Tuesday the 18th. Tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon, we'll be here broadcasting. We'll be broadcasting the reaction to what National Aeronautics and Space Administration is revealing. Today, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration administrator said this, the United States Secretary of Transportation. He was saying then that National Aeronautics and Space Administration now wants to be fully transparent, hyper-transparent or something, right? Didn't he say that? Or super transparent, something like that, ultra-transparent, something like that. I imagine he understands that it's one of the most criticized features, right? Of National Aeronautics and Space Administration, right? Precisely the lack of transparency, right? Yes?